6 a.m. on this Wednesday morning. Thanks so much for joining us here on Up with KREM. I'm Channing Curtis.
And I'm Tim Pham. It's good to see you on this Wednesday. We are halfway through the work week, my friends. Meteorologist Thomas Patrick is also with us on this Wednesday. So Thomas, just how warm will it be on this Wednesday?
I think today's going to be a pretty fair day out there with our temperatures in the mid 60s, which is average for this time of May. But I have lots of above average temperatures in the forecast. You're going to see the 7-day in a moment, but note this, today is our coolest of those days. It's all uphill from here. Even right now, not bad for this morning. We are about 40 minutes past sunrise with a low temperature currently at 41 degrees, but not as windy out there as of this morning. So it just takes a little bit of the edge off. The one thing of note is there is some rain over the Silver Valley from about 4th of July pass and eastward. It is mostly drizzly and wet in that region of the inland northwest, but hasn't quite made it to Coeur d'Alene or Spokane, even though it has left things a bit more cloudy as of this morning. But it doesn't stay cloudy all day long today. We're in for a mostly sunny afternoon, and there are those temperatures basically right on their averages at 66.
We bring you weather and traffic together here. Here's a live look at I-90 and Freya right now, where you can see that traffic is starting to pick up, but it is not causing any major slowdowns at this hour. You can see, though, exit 283B there at Freya still closed today. We're told that road work will continue for about a month or so. We'll let you know when that exit ramp reopens. But in the meantime, if there are any other major incidents this morning, we'll keep you updated right here on the show. Tracking today, the Spokane Public School Board is meeting tonight to talk about next steps on a bond that failed earlier this year. KREM 2's Brandon T. Jones is live in downtown Spokane for us. So Brandon, voters rejected this bond in February. Is there any idea when this bond could be reintroduced? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Tim. Well, that's what they're trying to figure out, and right now it's still up in the air on when they could reintroduce this bond back onto the ballots. If you can remember, back in February, the bond fell short of the 60% voter approval that it needed to pass. Since then, the district has conducted a survey that showed them many of the no votes pointed fingers at inflation and a potential impact on property values. Without the bond, though, the district has to hold off on replacing Madison and Adams Elementary School, two of the oldest schools here in Spokane. Several other renovations were also associated with the bond and have to be postponed. We got a chance to speak with SBS Superintendent Dr. Adam Swinyard about a potential timeline for the measure.
As we've shared before, one of the main pieces of feedback was just the economic environment and the challenges economically and from a tax perspective that our community is facing. So I know that that is foremost on the school board's mind as they're thinking about next steps, while at the same time balancing the needs of the school district.
School officials say they are looking at a number of factors before reintroducing the bond. That includes assessing what other municipalities like the city will have on upcoming ballots. They really want to take their time and figure out when the best time to reassess it and get this back on the ballots would be. Again, they will be meeting tonight during their school board meeting, and that discussion is expected to continue about when they'll reintroduce the bond. But for now, reporting live here in downtown Spokane, Brandon T. Jones, KREM 2 News.
This morning, we're following up with concerns from the Coeur d'Alene community after city prosecutors decided not to charge the man accused with yelling racial slurs at the Utah women's basketball team.
So KREM 2's Amanda Rowley shares the mayor's reaction to this decision.
This story continues to weigh on the Coeur d'Alene community, and today city leaders say they are disappointed the suspect won't face any legal accountability for his actions. Mayor Jim Hammond told me over the phone today he's not second-guessing the city prosecutor, but he had hoped the suspect would at least face some level of accountability. Hammond says this alleged racial incident continues to hurt the community and its local businesses. He says he's received letters from people who say they've changed their mind about visiting Coeur d'Alene this summer.
I had hoped that something could be done to hold them accountable, and it may have been funny to them, but it wasn't funny to the community, and it was harmful in many different ways.
City Council member Christy Wood says she too is disappointed there won't be charges filed against the suspect, but she respects the review of the incident by the prosecutor. Wood is a retired sergeant with Coeur d'Alene Police Department. She is currently the vice president of the Kootenai County Task Force on Human Relations after previously serving as president for 16 years. Based on her law enforcement experience, Wood says this investigation had its challenges.
In this case, they really had difficulty even locating witnesses, and they finally were able to do that. And then they had hours and hours of video surveillance to comb through and audio. And so it's just very labor intensive. And then, of course, the chief sent them to Utah, the detectives, to actually interview some of the victims and witnesses.
Reporting in Coeur d'Alene, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Now here at KREM 2, we bring you more to every story. So we did reach out to a longtime criminal defense attorney for his take on the decision not to prosecute this case. Bevan Maxey has been practicing law here in Spokane for 40 years. And Maxey says that when prosecutors are deciding whether to file charges, they consider a number of factors to determine if the speech rises to the level of a crime. So that includes the intent behind what was said. Was it a threat or was it harassment? Was the vulgar, profane language used in loud, boisterous manner in the presence of a child? Which, if so, he does point out would be a misdemeanor in that case. He also says that while we do have strong protections under the First Amendment, there are also instances where what you say and how you say it does rise to the level of a crime.
But I think that the prosecutor looked to see if he could consider this a true threat. Ultimately, he determined that it wasn't. He talked about intent, which again can be one of the criteria that separate protected speech from unprotected speech. They came to the conclusion they thought this person was trying to be funny. I didn't research the case myself, but I think that there was probably more to it than that as far as what his real intent was to create with these young ladies.
Now, Maxey did point out that he's not trying to second guess this prosecutor and that he is just giving his analysis based on his experience. And given that, he adds this.
I think that you put those two things together, the sexual component of it with the racial component of it. I certainly think that it would have been well within his rights to try to prosecute this case. But having considered all the facts in his judgment, he determined he wasn't going to do that.
Now, another point that Maxey made about a prosecutor's decision to pursue charges is, do they think they can prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt? It's unclear if or how that factored into this decision.
It is 6:08. Let's take a look at your morning rush. More news in less time. Covering North Idaho, Coeur d'Alene Tribe Natural Resources released salmon into Hangman Creek yesterday. More than 200 students from local schools gathered for the event. This comes after the Coeur d'Alene Tribe announced a deal to address salmon recovery. The tribe will receive a little more than $10 million from the federal government every year for habitat improvement projects. They'll use the money on projects that protect fish and help sustain traditional fishing and hunting activities. Workers in Idaho got a raise last year. The Idaho Department of Labor says the average wage for all occupations was $26.75 an hour in 2023. That's about an 8.3% or a $2.06 increase from 2022. The median wage, which represents the midpoint between the lowest and the highest earners, also jumped. That climbed from $19.26 an hour in 2022 to $21.27 an hour last year. This morning, plans are in the works again for Boeing. The company will try to launch its Starliner spacecraft on Friday. NASA scrubbed Monday night's launch just 2 hours before liftoff because of a problem with an oxygen tank. Boeing is aiming to carry 2 astronauts to the International Space Station as part of a 10-day test flight. That is a look at your morning rush.
It is 6:09 as we take you back outside to our outdoor weather center. Conditions not feeling too bad out here today, especially compared to yesterday. It's a little bit warmer and it's a little less windy, so that wind chill factor isn't nearly as bad as it was yesterday, where it felt like it was in the 20s at times. No, we got 41 degrees. It is mostly cloudy, but it looks pretty thin in terms of that cloud coverage. I think the sunshine is going to be able to cut through that, at least from Spokane and westward, because I do see some blue skies off to my left here, which is towards the west. And that is where those warmest conditions will be seen today. More sunshine means better chance to hit that 70-degree mark this afternoon there, compared to just 66 in Spokane. But even that is about 4 to 5 degrees warmer than it was yesterday. We're also aiming towards the 80s this weekend. In fact, I have a ton of days in the 70s and 80s moving forward, and it makes today look like the coolest day overall. But trust me, today will certainly feel pretty warm, especially with more afternoon sunshine.
Well, it is time for our wake-up call on this Wednesday. This week is National Nurses Week, and it's Nurses Appreciation. So this morning, we're asking you to send in a shout-out to a nurse in your life. Text us yours like this viewer did. A shout-out to my niece, Sarah, who's nominated for Nurse of the Year by her coworkers.
Congrats.
Wow, congratulations, Sarah, and thanks for all you do for your patients. So keep these messages coming. Text us your shout-outs to that special nurse in your life to 509-448-2000 or post to social media and use the hashtag #UpWithKREM.